Welcome everybody to the next episode of the Cannabis Review. I'm delighted to be joined on this episode by Tim McDowell. We've got a long intro here, so bear with me. Tim is basically the current COO of Bristol Extracts in Bristol, New York, and he's also the chair of Finger Lakes Committee of the New York Cannabis Growers and Processors Association. He was a founding partner of one of the first regulated marijuana-infused product manufacturing companies in the US. And Tim was also a founding member of TreeFrog Cannabis Consulting and has managed multiple infused product manufacturing facilities and projects from conception through to completion. So a man with a huge wealth of information. Tim, thank you very much for taking time to join the show.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to be on.
Great to talk to you, mate. As I said, when I was researching, I was like going, holy shit, this man has got all the ingredients to be doing exactly what you guys are doing, which is very exciting things over in New York. Do you maybe want to give everybody a quick little overview of how you got so quickly to Bristol Extracts and the original first step into the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again for having me. But really, it started right place, right time in Boulder, Colorado in 2009. A mutual friend put me in touch with a guy who had started one of the first dispensaries and a grow to support it. He wanted to do edibles from the trim, and that was kind of the mindset on processing at the time. And then we ran with that. He sold the dispensary and the grow a couple of years later. We focused on the brand Marcaja out of Denver. We moved it to Denver. Then we expanded that in 2014 into the Nevada and Illinois markets. And really just owner operator grew that. We spun TreeFrog Consulting off of that just as a small consulting company that focused on processing. We always said from the plant was cut down until products were shipped. So we'd work with teams. We were very successful with the teams that we got put in, Medicine Man Technologies and different security teams. And we were successful in winning applications, competitive application licenses in 10 states. So it was a busy few years there. And then, life changes and COVID happened. And I grew up on the East Coast, and I moved my family back here in July of 2021, a year ago. Bristol Extracts brought me on to help them enter into the THC market. And so Bristol Extracts, a hemp cultivator and processor since 2018 in upstate New York, grew 30 acres of hemp for multiple years. The hemp market, kind of, CBD markets in the U.S. have taken a big drop in the last few years, along with COVID. So they pivoted, brought myself in, brought a chemist in from Oakland, California. And, 12 or 13 months later, we were awarded the conditional processor license. And we are anticipating the conditional cultivator license in October. So here we are.
Incredible. That's the kind of first topic I wanted to talk about. So you've recently got your NYS adult use conditional processor license. Can you maybe outline to everybody what does that basically entail and allow Bristol Extracts to do in that state?
Yeah, absolutely. So the conditional processor license, there was a lot of lobbying to allow the hemp growers and processors kind of first run at the New York market. That's one of the pillars of these conditional licenses, the dispensary license being the other for folks who were directly impacted by the war on drugs. And so with the processor license, we qualified for it for already holding a hemp processor license and having a CGMP certified facility, which is a good manufacturing third-party audit and certification. So there are two tiers within even the processor license. One allows a company to extract the plant biomass into concentrates or extracts. The other simply allows you to manufacture. So one allows you to extract and manufacture. The other allows you to manufacture. So we are fortunate to be able to extract and manufacture end goods and then wholesale them to licensed dispensaries in the state of New York.
Okay, incredible. So you guys are going to be one of the main players when it comes to, let's say, an edibles brand or a vape brand decide they want to get into the market. You guys have the expertise for them to be able to fulfill all their needs all in one space.
Sure. And, we've been approached by several, if not dozens of West Coast brands, and some that I go back a long time with, and very successful brands. Bristol has not licensed or chosen to license these or work with these brands at this point. kind of our philosophy right now is the next 12 to 24, maybe more months in New York are going to be difficult. It's as the market, we see how these dispensaries open, what kind of capital there is to even purchase wholesale. We don't really want to bring other people to the table. I don't know how great of partners we would be, or anyone would be in that sense, as the chaos of the market opening happens. I've been through this 3 times now, and then a couple other times as a consultant. It's just one strategy. The other folks that have these licenses are choosing to license brands, and they may be successful doing it. So, but we develop house brands and bring them out to start and see what happens in the future.
And how many New York adult processor licenses are there going to be? So you said there's tier 1 and 2 tier. Are they split evenly 50-50? Or is there
I believe it was if you had a CGMP certified extraction room prior to January 1st of this year, then you could roll that into the conditional process if you were awarded that license. There's 39 total. At least that's the last number that I had read about a month ago. 39 potential conditional processor licenses in New York. I want to say it's roughly half of those, if a little less, can also extract. But those numbers do change a little. And so, and then there's a smaller number of, let's say it's 20 that can extract and manufacture. I believe there's like 12 to 14 that can also grow out of those companies. Which is, great, but it's also a lot of balls in the air. It's very capital intensive. So sometimes you get what you ask for, especially when the market's not open and we don't know really when the market's going to be open. We hear it's going to be open December of 22. I think that we can all agree that that's not going to happen. Maybe there's a political, hey, we awarded licenses in this year, and that's great and good for them. But an actual operational market is several months out.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see. I think I was reading something in the last 48 hours about that they're going to have 900 different dispensaries. It's going to be interesting to see the shareholding, how many individual entrepreneurs are there, how much capital is brought to the market initially at phase 1. But I think the vertically integrated companies like you just kind of described there, I think you see in Canada that didn't work. Specialization seems to be the key to any successful business in any industry. And I think a few New York companies might learn that the hard way, like Canada.
Yeah, I mean, the cannabis industry in general is taking a lot of bumps and bruises here. It's kind of correcting to pre-COVID plus some. And, money is a little more expensive to come by these days, and it's a very capital intensive business. And the goal over these next 2 years is that the state will issue 150 dispensary licenses. But I mean, you can do a whole episode on how DASNY and the New York State OCM is licensing these dispensaries and how it's a public-private fund to help get them going. And there's a lot of, it's a great equity-focused, something different than any other state has done. And I think we all support that. There is also the reality of business that we really are looking for more of a communication between licensed industry and state government, because you have a thriving gray market in New York, and it's legal. No one should be arrested for marijuana, but there is a challenge of when you have tax-paying companies and companies with massive overhead competing with companies that are selling product that they're not paying any permit fees or license fees, and that's a big Rubik cube that we'll see how New York, how they handle that,
Yeah. Well, I was over in New York there in May, and I was actually blown away by the amount of CBD stores that had cookies and all sorts of different brands from the West Coast, and then the trucks as well. But we did an whole episode on the license and the trucks. Just to clarify one thing, you said the government are looking to open up 150 dispensary licenses. Is that the equity licenses that they're given to basically people who've been penalized by law?
That's right. So that window just closed in the last, I think, 48 hours. They received 908 applications.
That's what I
150 licenses will be issued out of that pool. There will be what's being referred to as standard licenses issued in the future. I think that the last Chris Alexander, executive director of the OCM, said that those would be, their timeline now is kind of mid next year. So who knows? So we're still years out from the real standard, what that's going to look like. How many of those licenses are they going to give out per tier? What restrictions are they going to have on them? This first wave that's at least 2 years long will be the hemp growers. I think last count there were around 300 licenses issued. Maybe 200 plus of those got plants in the ground. And then the processor licenses, I think there's 22 issued as of today. So.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I used to live in New York. It's something that I'm going to have my eye on continuously over the next couple of years. But if ever there's a state with a multitude of different nationality and entrepreneurs and connections, that there won't be just one size fits all in that one.
It's so exciting. Yeah. You nailed it. I mean, I lived in Denver the last 22 years of my life. And, I moved to Rochester, New York. So we're 6 hours, 5.5 hours from the city, down there every couple of months. But just the diversity, but also just the interaction with people is different in New York. I mean, people want to network, they want to talk, they want to learn. I mean, they have hustle, and it's really refreshing to see. It's exciting times.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the few places that I've noticed as well where some of the guys from the banking and finance industry are posting about the meetup events that they're having, and they're all smoking away, whereas they seem to be, a lot of more territories are more refined and don't seem to be as braggadocious. I think New York is going to have the shoulders swinging, and there won't be any apologetic behavior for a new billion-dollar industry coming to the city.
Yeah, I mean, people are bold, and it's exciting, man. I mean, even what, I don't know what you call it now, the gray market. I don't think it's called the legacy market. I think that's something different. That's my personal belief. But like, that's exciting and that's amazing. And what a world to live in, that people are not being arrested for cannabis. It's the job of these municipalities and the government to, what do they want this to be? And they want it to be taxed. They want it to be regulated. They want it to be licensed. So how are they going to manage that? For companies like us that will be hit with 280E tax, federal tax, which is substantial. I mean, it's hard to be a profitable cannabis industry in the United States. I think I just read last night that with the top 10 or 12 MSOs in the country, only one of them is profitable, but they collectively owe the IRS over $550 million. And they're choosing to just take the interest rate that the government will give them on paying back those taxes, rather than borrowing money or selling assets to pay it off, because it's cheaper to do that. But I mean, those chickens will come home to roost. Like that's a house of cards,
Yeah, and that's even somebody like Trulieve would have been swimming in cash if it were not for the recent acquisition. That whoever was in charge of that one should be losing their head, as far as I'm concerned.
So, I bring that up because for us, where we're at right now, is, we have a 20,000 square foot facility. We have 30 acres of land. We have a lot of overhead. We have product lines. We're developing out brands. We're onloading more equipment and more extractions, very capital intensive. But the goal is to keep it as lean as possible. And that goes to lean manufacturing, the Six Sigma mentality, using consultants to help our current team, but also not trying to do everything at once. It's a long game, I mean, it's going to be years before this market is open. So how do we strategize and approach that by staying profitable?
Yeah, staying a little bit hungry and a little bit cold, I think, is the model for any good cannabis business for the next few years. I think you don't want to be getting too comfortable. I've got so many things that I didn't get to talk to you about because we're near the time, but there's one thing I definitely did want to ask. You've won the Cannabis Cup twice. Those both genetic wins, and
yeah, so we because I don't want to take all the credit. I had with the company Marcaha, we won 2 medals, which are on the wall behind me. I'm super proud of the team that did that. Those were both edibles. That was our focus at the time. That was 2013 and 14, I believe, in Denver, Colorado. One was a drink, a blueberry chamomile, and one was a gummy, I believe. We had so many products. But we had a great team there. That company, I had my core management team for 9 years. I was with that founded and grew that company for over 11 years. But then got to judge the the San Bernardino Cannabis Cup, and that was a great experience, and speak on panels. And so I'm really looking forward to what New York and the East Coast is doing with these kind of award ceremonies. When you win, they're a big deal. When you don't win, you're like, it doesn't mean anything.
I think that's the same with everything in life. If it's working for you, it's great. If it's not, it's bullshit. For everybody who's not following Tim on Twitter, the Timo McDowell, but is his handle. I highly recommend following him. A wealth of information. Tim, thank you very much for taking the time today. Hopefully we can touch base maybe in the next 6 to 8 months, and we'll see how you guys are getting on and how the New York market's getting on.
Yeah. Look forward to it. It's good to get to know you, and thanks for having me on.
Thank you very much. Till next episode, everybody.